This is a video that will detail all of these stats for Hearts of Iron 4, in case you do not want to read. So, max speed. This is how quickly your unit moves. Light tanks and motorized have like the highest speed, whereas infantry has, I think, the lowest. HP. This is, in one way, how much damage your unit can take, like how much strength damage it can take. So if you look, this division has a green bar and a brown bar. This is the strength. So this is the HP bar. This is the org bar. So if the unit has a very low HP, it will take more damage in battle and will actually die. It will take more damage, more manpower, and more equipment damage. This is the organization bar. This is effectively how long your unit can stay in battle. So you want a higher org the better, because then it will be able to stay in battle for a long time. Tanks have a very low org, same thing with like artillery, where infantry has a very high org. Recovery rate, this is effectively just how much org regenerates each hour. This only happens not in combat. Reconnaissance, this is a stat improved by the recon company. And this increases the chance the unit picks better tactics. So if we want to look at a combat here, hold on, here we go. So these are tactics, right? And you can click here. These are all the tactics that you do like on the offense. These blue ones will only do, the defenders will do this. And these are for the attackers. And you will get more of these as you go down the doctrine tree. So like these are locked, but if I were to go down the doctrine tree, they're right there. And you want to pick a better tactic because some tactics will like beat other ones, so we'll stop those bonuses. So I don't know if it says it here, it may not. Yeah, so like some of these will counter other tactics, right? So this one gives 5% defender damage, this one gives 5% attacker. Let's say if this one were to counter this one, they would not get that 5% bonus, but we would still get ours. So you want to have better tactics than the enemy, which is why you want a recon company. Or why reconnaissance is useful. Supply use, this is just how much supply a company takes up. The smaller the unit takes up less supply, obviously, and you can add logistics company to deplete this. So all your equipment have base, like, reliability. So I think the infantry equipment is base 100. I'm pretty sure. You can see it on here. Base 90. So like that, it has a 90% chance of breaking when the unit is under attrition. So increasing this will give that a lower chance. So like if you were to get this unit 10%, these wouldn't break even when they're under attrition. Because they would have 90 plus 10, which makes 100. Because they have no chance of breaking. Trickle back. This is for all the manpower losses you get in combat. This is how many of those actually rejoin the unit. So if you had 10% of trickle back and lost 1,000 men in a combat, you would get 100 back. Experience loss is tied to trickle back. And this is experience bar, and you see every time they're in combat, this improves, at least when they're winning in a combat. That green bowling means they're winning. So if you get less, the higher chance of this means that they get less experience loss. Same thing with trickle back. These 5 stats here are very important. Soft attack is the amount of damage you will do against soft targets, and soft targets are, infantry are 100% soft. So basically unarmored targets, and tanks are 100% hard. So, and every unit will have a range. Like motorized units have, I think, 10% hardness. So it'll take 90% soft attack and 10% hard attack. And as you can see, most units have a lower hard attack than a soft attack. So more hardened units usually means they take less damage. This is why you want to put motorized or mechanized or tanks in your divisions. And there's also something to do. Air attack is just air will join the battle. Like these ones. These are close air support, so since the battle's happening, they would show up here when they join the battle. Let's see. So there are 4 in this battle. This shows how many damage, this shows how many shot down. If these units were to have air attack, like a high air attack, it would shoot these down. It would also decrease the amount of damage they take. But so for these things, they're important. This is how much damage it does against hard targets. This is how much it does against soft. And defense and breakthrough are like sister stats. Defense is how much damage your unit can sustain, not how much damage your unit will block on the defensive, and this is how much it will do on the offensive. Tanks have a high breakthrough stat and a lower defense, but most like infantry or cavalry have a low breakthrough but a high defense. And these will actually change real time, by the way. If I were to edit this template, you could see the effects it would do on all these stats. And so another note here about combat is that if a soft attack is actually greater than the defense value. So this one has 24 soft attack and this one has 99 defense. So this would just do 24 damage, right? But let's say all these guys with like 24 and then 10 soft attack were to target this guy, he would take a lot more damage. You know, let's just say these all have 10 and this one has 30. So I mean that 30 takes off 60 and then 3 of these guys make 0, right? So they've effectively broken his defense. And all these other guys would still be doing 10 damage, but in a video made by Riemann's Paradox, I believe, he explains that all the damage that goes over their defensive stat will actually do 4 times damage. So if you do 10 more if you have 10 more soft attack than their defense, you actually get 40 damage out of that. So yeah, it's pretty important. So usually having a unit with a higher defense will mean you take less damage in combat. And if you have a very high soft attack, it does more damage. Same thing with hard attack. These two are the same. These two are the same. So yeah, units will take a lot more damage on the attack. Because you see how the breakthrough is way lower than the defense? They'll be taking a lot more damage. Armor. This is effectively something that's given by tanks or armored units. And it works with this stat in that if your opponent has a lower piercing value than your armor, you'll actually take half damage and do double damage, I think. I think it may depend. I think you take half damage and do double damage, so it's pretty good to have a better armor value. And piercing is increased by anti-tank or just techs. Every combat equipment has like a built-in piercing. So that one has 4, and you see all the attacks too. The initiative is an important stat. Right here is that you can see it has 0% initiative, and so this is a reinforcement rate. This is a somewhat overlooked stat, even though it's pretty important. My units are small, so I can't actually show this, but if we are to have more units in a combat, let's just... So, I still feel that, okay. So if you're attacking from one province, you get 80 soft attack, just base. And I think this will be changed in the upcoming DLC, so this is not perfect advice for right now. but basically this is how many units can fit in here, right? So 120 combat width worth of units. So like this has, you can see how much combat width you have here. And so when your units are over combat width, when you actually start an attack, they'll start here. So you see how they're reserves? And so this chance of reinforcing the front line 2%, right? Because there's space, so they'll reinforce the front line. So every tick that goes by, which I think is less than an hour, it may just be an hour, they have a 2% chance of getting into the battle. And having a higher initiative stat will actually increase this chance. So if you have 20, this would actually be 22%. This, by the way, is increased also by doctrines and techs, and a support company. So entrenchment is when your units are in a certain area, like on the defensive, like these units down here are, they'll build up entrenchment. And so these have a max 30% entrenchment, which I think is the normal for just infantry. Which means that if they are not attacked, or they do not attack, they'll get a 30% buff if they are attacked. And this is just the base entrenchment, and so if you were to have, either by doctrines or support companies, this would increase. Equipment capture ratio is self-explanatory. It's how much equipment you capture in a battle. Combat width is pretty important. So this is effectively how large your unit is. So if you were to add, let's just take the normal infantry division, right? This only has 12 combat width. So if you were to have a 120 combat width battle, you would be able to fit 10 of these guys in here. But if you, let's say, put in quite a few more guys, you see that the combat width goes up. This means that you would have less of them in a battle, but they do more damage. So if you have 120, you only actually be able to fit 6 of these guys in. And a higher combat with them does give them better stats, so they will take less damage. So if you have like a 2 width unit, it'll take significantly more damage because it has a lower HP and a lower defense and breakthrough. So, like, you know, if you use a 2 width division in combat, it will die very quickly. So bigger units last longer and do more damage, but less of them get in the battle. So that's important. There we go. There it is. So yeah, if you attack from multiple directions, it opens up the combat width. You get more units in here. So that's important. This is basically just how much equipment you use. So this is manpower. That's how many men are in the division. This is how long it'll take to train it. To train it here, you know, it would take until the 7th of May, so like a few months. Fuel capacity. This is how much fuel a unit will store. So this only works with motorized divisions, or divisions that use fuel. So it will store up 230, but every hour, if it's doing anything, it will use 4. So without supply, this can act for about like 6 hours or something. And this is just the equipment. This is also a production cost estimate. This is how we kind of compare how expensive divisions are. So this one only has 420, but this one has, 5. And these adjusters down here are important. These shows all the different terrain types in the game. Or like this is an amphibious landing. And so these bonuses will show if you get a positive or negative or nothing. So like in a forest, this guy moves 5% faster and has 20% more defense. In the hills, he moves, has better attack, and has better defense. Whereas a normal infantry division does not get more attack in hills, right? And like a motorized company actually gets less. The forest has like 8% less. Amphibious landing has negative 34%. These are on top of the normal debuffs. So in a mountain, if you click on